It's me, sky. Rely on yourself in no way. Believe.
Good morning, everybody. It's not going to be a very long show today. I want to make sure people are aware of that because what I have to get through is pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward. Um, and I know that there are going to be tons of people that will not agree with this. And I don't mean normal, logical people. I mean the uh, the people that put people and man before God. Those folks. Um, Anytime you have folks that need to defend an individual for what the individual believes and not God, then you have a problem. You have a major problem. And I've seen now that there are a lot of these preachers that have a cult like following. Like to the point where the preacher himself is God. You look at them like TD Jakes, um, Creflo Dollar, Duplantis, you name it. They all have a very, even Gino, a very tight circle of people that will almost want you eradicated if you say anything about them, especially something about the heresy that might come from their mouth. It's almost like they can't do anything wrong. And the first thing they'll tell you is you're speaking about God's anointed. And every time I asked them, how was that person anointed? In fact, how was that person more anointed than anyone else to be called God's anointed that I shouldn't touch them? And what exactly are you telling me about not touching God's anointed? Where in the book does it talk specifically about those kinds of people in the manner you're talking about them when it's mentioned that you shouldn't touch my anointed? So let's look at that first, that very, very first thing about what is God's anointed, because that's where they go to first is don't touch God's anointed. Don't do it. Because if you do it, that's bad. Almost like Mr. Mackey from South Park. It's bad, okay? It's bad. Okay, you shouldn't do that because it's bad. Don't talk about TD Jakes because that's bad, okay? Okay. Man alive. Anyway, so let's read that particular passage, shall we? Let's see what it says. This is in Psalms 105. We'll start from verse 9. The covenant which he made with Abraham and his oath to Isaac, and confirmed it to Jacob for a statute, to Israel as an everlasting covenant, saying, to you I will give the land of Israel and the allotment of your inheritance. When they were few in number, indeed very few, and strangers in it. When they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he permitted no one to do them wrong. He rebuked kings for their sakes, saying, do not touch my anointed ones, and do my prophets no harm. Moreover, he called for a famine in the land, and he destroyed all the provisions of bread. He sent a man before them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. So, as usual, they take a statement completely out of its context to apply it to somebody that they think is more valuable than even Jesus himself. Nothing of what that statement says has anything to do with the kind of people they're referring to. None of it. So, what is being anointed? There are two different ways that it happens in the book, okay? The oil from a prophet sent by God to anoint someone else, either into a kingship position or into another prophet position, or just a herald. But it usually was a send from God to do something specifically. Then there is the anointing of the Holy Spirit itself, which every man who comes into the blood receives. So technically, you can't speak against anyone, but that's not what the verse was discussing, which is why you should never just go blanketly apply any verse to anything you want, because it tells you in the New Testament to rebuke one another. Wouldn't you consider that going after God's anointed? No, what we do, channels like mine, like Too Strong, and there are quite a few others on YouTube, when we call out poor doctrine and blasphemous behavior, we are not going after God's anointed. You know what God's anointed would do? Preach God's word. God's anointed would not go out into public and speak something completely anti God. That is not being anointed, nor is it fulfilling anything of anointing. Nothing. So how much erroneous speech must come from somebody before we can say that's not of God? How many times must somebody speak against the book, against the spirit, and against God before we say that's a problem? Should we just say, nah, just leave it alone, it'll be okay? When they have the ear of people and are directly going against actual biblical truth and leading many into a location where they themselves can be damned further. And while the person doing it is doing it under the guise of being anointed and sent from God, and I'm fulfilling my calling. If God called you, you know what you'd be doing? Doing what God said. If God called you, you would be saying exactly what God said. You wouldn't be filling in crap because you want to. It wouldn't be adding stuff to the book and thinking you're doing something great. It wouldn't be hypothesizing over nonsense. That would not be what you would do. You would actually just stick to what's important, but you don't do that. You either preach about money, you preach about how important you are, you preach about one specific race, you preach political nonsense. Heck, some of you even preach the devil, but you're anointed. No, you're not. No, you're not. And this is not me judging anybody. This is me weighing what they say against the word, and the word is what's judging them, not me. I love how people say you're judging. I'm not judging anything. I am deciphering what they say, looking at what the word said. And if it doesn't line up, I can't agree with it. I'm sorry that I can't agree with it, but technically, I'm not really sorry at all. I will never stand for and with someone who is blatantly against the word. It's that simple. Why should I? Why should I? We have a basic problem in the so-called church now. And the biggest problem we find here in the church is that many are not following the head. They follow a system, a dogma, a trend, but they don't follow the leader. They go to a church of a certain pastor. They go to a mega church and they listen to a pastor that speaks about a word, and they're looking for a word about their life from the pastor because the pastor said it's from God. Meanwhile, they just take the word and they never go to God to see if it's something that God actually said. Oh, Pastor Jakes gave me a great word today. Oh, this pastor gave me a great word for my life today. But did God give you that? Yeah, because that pastor is speaking on behalf of God. But did you know? Just, I don't know if you are aware of this, but did you know you can actually go before the throne yourself and verify all that stuff? Did you know that? In fact, did you know that that's what you're supposed to do? Test every spirit. You know you're supposed to do that, right? And the only way you can test it is with the litmus test that God is. Why is it so difficult for us to do that? Why do we depend on one man to tell us something, and we just run with whatever he says because he told you that he was anointed. People like Marcus Rogers who blatantly abuse the book and lie on God constantly about God told him this and God told him and I have a prophecy and none of the prophecies come through. And he's always talking about I was told by God, directly told by God, came to me, God came to me. And people don't even question. They don't even question, even with it not happening. And he'll blatantly tell you that God said it will. And they still follow the man because the man is more important than God himself. You'll hear people like Sarah Jakes talking about going to the next dimension and waiting for this and waiting for that and the birthing this and birthing that and your great blessing is coming and it makes you feel really good. It does make you feel good. It's a great hurrah speech. Gets all in your feels. But you never go back and talk to the one person that can clarify all of it. And in you're not doing that, you end up depending more and more and more on these men, and they end up becoming your God. They end up becoming your God. Todd White. You name them today. Any big mega preacher you name today, they all have one thing, one big thing in common. They all stray from the word. Because they cannot stand to have the word be what it is. See, the word does something crazy. The word will convict you in ways that nothing else will. And it's so direct. The reason people have a problem with it and say that it's not direct because it's too direct for them. That's the biggest problem people have with the Bible. It is this is why they tell you that man, this and man, that man, because it's too direct. It's not vague at all. The Bible is so direct that you have no wiggle room. And that is the problem. That's why people hate the word, because it's too concise. There's no wiggle room. There's no left and right. It's just pow, dead on. And as humans, we want to have wiggle room. We want room to say, well, maybe it means, and maybe it means, and perhaps, and might, and then when you try and you sneak a little thing in there, you take one verse like they do, anointed, and you take it out of context so you can kind of plant it somewhere else and say, well, it applies here and this applies. Nope. The reason people hate reading for themselves, it's not that they don't understand when they read. It's because they encounter something they don't like. It goes against what they want to continue doing, and they look for a preacher that will enable it. They look for a preacher, a teacher that will enable their misbehavior, their poor belief structure, their disobedience, and their lying. They look for somebody like that. Somebody like T.D. Jakes who will tell you out front, hey, you know what? God is waiting for you. God is here. And then he'll go hang out with P. Diddy. And he'll go to one of his parties with all the kind of naked women that be there and the gay men. That's T.D. Jakes. Or you'll have someone like Duplantis who will come forward and talk about and brag about how big his house is. And I tried poor. I didn't like poor. You see, I talk to Jesus all the time. I talk to Jesus all the time. In fact, I was in heaven one time. And the Lord needed me to comfort him. Stuff like that. They are looking. And while people who want to find God will find God, the people that are having church are making it more and more difficult for really, really diligently seeking people to find a body that will help them seek God more deeply. It's why people aren't going to church. It's why people don't congregate anymore. Every time you realize something about church today, it's a party, or they go for the fanfare, they go for the feel, they go for the atmosphere. They don't ever go for God. They don't go to feed each other. They don't go and sit. What testimony do you have today? What did God do this week? What encouragement do you have? No, we go for one person. We go and listen to one guy talk about something that he is not willing to do himself. We listen to one guy who's telling you everything that you want to hear and nothing of what you need to do. To the point where somebody would be willing, on behalf of a preacher, to tell you, I am here to defend his name. You are here to defend a preacher's name? Thank you, Ryan. If God made exceptions and allowed room for debauchery, everyone on earth would follow. But because he is clear and direct on his word, people don't want to follow. I think I've been pretty transparent and clear with you people. And I'll say it again to echo what Ryan said. If left to my flesh, in an instant, I would do everything that would be considered depraved. Because I know what my history was. I know how close to the edge I was getting. I know. I know full well. What the New Age preachers have done is found a way to tell people that the edge is a fine place to be, as long as you say Jesus once in a while. As long as you keep coming to this location and paying this cash and this money, you're fine. You're okay to stay where you are. Yeah, you're on the edge, but God knows it's a difficult life to handle. And God also knows that you can't be perfect, so you're fine. But don't worry also, because your breakthrough is coming. But ironically, always the breakthrough has to do with finances. And the breakthrough in your relationship is getting what you want, not you changing. It's always the other person doing something. They don't direct you to God. They don't ask you to pray anymore. They're always looking to God as some sort of a EBT card, get out of jail free card, or tell me that I'm special card. You know, we talked about Mr. Darby the other day. And the guy that came to defend him, defend his name, he says, was an interesting one, to say the least. It really was. Because when you actually look at the comments, okay, I want to read that particular one because I think it's important to understand what people really believe about church anymore. Let me see if I can find his comment, because I need to find that particular comment in the thread that follows. because it's vital I get this one. Unless he took it down already. He probably did. He probably took it down. I could see that happening, though. I'm checking still. Just give me 1 minute. Because it just crossed my mind to check something, to verify some stuff. I see Arlene's comment, Brenda's comment. No, I don't see it. I've responded. There it is. Okay, good. So this is what he said. Okay. Now, mind you, this is about the comment, the whole video we had on Mr. Darby. Because he initially came out the gates speaking to my scholarliness, but that had nothing to do with the topic at all, right? Um, and he says, I want to debate the arguments you made against the late Pastor Darby, as he has passed away and he can't defend himself. I don't need to defend myself, and no one should be able to defend themselves when you should be speaking. Listen, you're a preacher. You should be speaking about somebody else. You should be speaking about God. So if anybody comes at you, you should not have to defend yourself. You should be defending God, right? But for some reason, when somebody comes and talks about what you're talking about, their followers are instantly thinking you're attacking them for them. So they need to defend them, which means that you must have a higher respect for them than looking at what they're saying and weighing it against the Bible. Why would I need to be defended? Defend what I'm saying. You should be coming to say, I'm going to defend what Pastor Darby said because what he said is true. Tell me that. But why are you defending him? Why defend him? This is what he said right after that. To Corey, by the way. After I responded, he said, he just responded to my call out. You saying he's not going to stand by it? And then he says this, I'm going to get it in for Pastor Darby. Not for God, not for the word, not for truth, for Pastor Darby. You see, what we've become is a people focused on man and man's position and man's statements and man's belief and defending man. So much so that we have completely ignored the word itself. As long as the man says something that really resonates with us, where we are, whether it's true or not, it just identifies with me. Oh, I believe that I'm a chosen human being because of my skin color. That preacher is saying it too. I really like him because he is speaking truth. But is he speaking truth? Is he speaking truth, or is he just speaking something you like to hear? But because it's something you like to hear, you're not going to go back and double check to see if it's true. You're just going to take it because you like it. Oh, it's about me making money? I love it. Oh, it's about me getting a blessing? I love it. You must die. God knows I'm not perfect. You must deny self. But what if I just can't stop doing the things I'm doing? I've been doing it for too long. Every time it comes to a sacrifice, there's a problem. But let it be about something you really like. Oh my gosh, you're all over that, like white on rice, right? You're there. You're there. I genuinely hope that no one in this audience ever gets to that point with me. I'm asking you to never do that here. If it's not been said before, if it felt like it's been implied, if it felt as though I am seeming like I want to be like those, please, please no. Mm-mm, not here. Not here. Not here. No one should have to defend me or anything I say. You should be able to deconstruct everything I say with the word and verify or deny the things I say. That's what you should be able to do. That's what I want you to do. And I've said this before multiple times. I may be saying something in a way that helps you understand something. To some, I may confuse you, but there are some that I may say something that will clarify something you have already known. And if it is something that I've clarified for you, it should be something that's already reiterated in the word. If it's not in there, please tell me. I don't want you guys following this channel thinking that I'm looking for some sort of a cult following. I don't want nobody saying, oh, pastor this and pastor. Listen carefully to what I consider myself in the kingdom. Listen to this carefully. I am a vessel, nothing more. Vessel. That is it. And as a vessel, I'm only carrying what I'm built to carry. I don't want anybody honoring the vessel. I need you to honor God above all else, Him. Not the biggest thing. If I leave this earth tomorrow, I don't want any equivocations about what I was on this earth to do in my later days. I was not here to start no church because it's God's. I was not here to start no congregation because it's God's. I have no intentions of being called something that He has not told me to be. I'm just a vessel. Just a vessel. I'm not going to tell you, wait for your blessing. It's about to come. Your blessing has already shown up, and it's salvation. There, understand, there's no other blessing on this earth that will ever outweigh salvation. None. The biggest blessing you will ever experience in your life is a saving of your soul from death and damnation. And in order to do that, you have to meet the one that blesses you. That in and of itself is more than enough to go from birth to death in life. But people don't like that. They want extra. There was a conference we had here some time ago, and it was called the God Plus Nothing Conference. And the title blew me away at first because I had not really thought about how many things I've put as caveats with God. Garnishes, dressing, accompaniment. When we get to the point where God is God plus, you're forgetting that He's enough. When it's not God and God only, and only God, and you have to do God plus, is God really enough? Is He sufficient? When He says He's sufficient, is He sufficient? Or do you need God plus a preacher? God plus a pastor? God plus this church? God plus that? God plus a blessing? God plus money? God plus a car? God plus influence? Or is he enough? We want to complicate Christianity. We want to complicate God by putting all kinds of caveats. We're God's because we're this, and this, not just because. Or I'm saved because I've done this, and my lineage, and this. And they want to have all these additives. Listen, if you had all that lineage and Jesus didn't show up, your lineage would be for naught. It'd be for naught. Your lineage would be for naught had it not been for Jesus. Jesus smashed our old covenant and created a brand new one. And the brand new one is worth more than gold. It is something that Adam destroyed and Jesus replenished. But if you don't want that, listen, that's okay. It really is. It is because you have the choice. You have the choice. No one is trying to force you or coerce you to believe God at all. These atheists that tell you we're trying to ram stuff down their throat, we are not pushing anything down your throat. If you don't want God, fine. However, for those who say that they're preachers and are doing things completely contrary and speaking a lie about God, trust and believe that we who do follow will have something to say about it. Because you are doing the counter work to what we've been sent to do. We who follow God have been sent to speak about him. You are using his name to lie. We who know better will call you out. It's that simple. But like I said, there are many who follow, and when they follow this, these people, these things, they never want to admit that the folks that they're dealing with have issues and it's directly linked to God. They want to admit that because if they admitted that, then they have to stop listening. And to stop listening means they have to stop believing that they're right. And they're no longer special. No longer special. And you cannot live your life not being special. You can't do it. Being special is important. It's important. But you are special. You belong to the everlasting God. That's special. The everlasting God created a pathway for you to be back in front of him on a daily basis. That's special. But you're not special because of who you are just by yourself. You are special because of who you are in Christ. And if that's not enough for you, then have fun following a man and make sure you show up and defend a man. Defend him. Defend him tooth and nail. And when you've poured all your energy into defending a man, just make sure you are ready for God not to defend you. Just remember that at the last day, the energy you put forth in defending man, Jesus cannot put forward in defending you in his blood before the Father. That's going to happen. It's not going to happen. So you got to choose. You have to decide. You have to decide whether God is one, enough, and two, man is greater than God. You can't have it both ways. If he is enough, then man will not be greater than God. And if man is greater than God, then he ain't enough. In any case, um, I want people to be aware of the next few. Look, they even went so far. This is how far. And there were some that said it that followed the channel. And of course, there were the dissenters. You're getting those headaches because you're attacking God's anointed, or you're getting the headaches because you're dealing with these people. I'm dealing in witchcraft. That's the case, then so be it. But I am aware of who I'm following, fully aware. And I'm fully aware that what he is asking us to do is pretty simple. He's not asking us to go through what Jesus did. He put Jesus through that. He's simply asking us to accept that work. Accept that work. Follow him. Die to self. Remain in the blood so that when God sees you, he sees his son. He made us his righteousness. God made him who had no sin so that we might become his righteousness. If it's not, like I said, if it's not enough, then it's not enough. It's fine. It's not enough. Tomorrow is the debate, I guess you can call it. I'm not going to call it a debate for now. I'm going to call it something else, but I don't even know what that is. I'm sending him the link now, so he has it. So, they're going to say they don't get stuff, so. In any case, if you guys want to see it, whatever it's going to look like, I don't know. You know me, I don't prep for nothing, so I'm still not prepping for anything. He's going to come, make a spiel, and he's not going to convince me of anything. I just make sure people understand that there's no convincing me of anything. Especially if you're coming to defend what Darby said, you're definitely not going to convince me of anything. The most you can do is regurgitate what he said and continue the lie that he's propagated. That's all you can do. Because there's no proof anywhere in the book to lead you to any conclusion that what he was saying is anywhere true. That there's not a drop of truth behind it. So we'll see what happens. Things may or may not go well. It could end up being a complete travesty, and it could end up being hilarious at the same time. So, oh well, there's someone that told me I should shut up about what's his name, Mr. Darby. I did a whole event on Mr. Darby a couple of days ago, and one of his followers said I should not be speaking about him like that because he's dead one, and that he's right. And I'm not a scholar, but I know that. I told you guys I'm not a scholar. That's old news. I am not a scholar. Never been to seminary. I have no intentions of going to seminary. Don't need to. The word is pretty clear. I mean, I like it. I like because of how clear it is, but it's what it is. It's true. The word is there. But of course, man changed it, so we'll get into all that, I guess. I'm assuming we'll get into all that tomorrow. in any event, we'll talk tomorrow about that. Don't forget to go check out Too Strong. We dropped a really good video about generational trauma, and I think it could do some good for some people. It's not getting a whole lot of traction right now, understandably. So go check it out, please. Go check it out. Get the channel moving again. Thank you, Diana. Tomorrow, Savage Pages will be on, and then on Saturday as well, we'll have our Rumble event. Tomorrow again for Savage Pages, we'll be talking about welfare fraud. Okay, welfare fraud tomorrow. The t-shirts are, like I said, the discount code is family 360. Make sure you go check that out, family 360. The sale is on until I think the week before Christmas, the 16th or 15th, something like that. So check that out. Make sure you check that out. Scrolling at the bottom, ways to scrolling at the bottom, the way you need to ask God about whether or not you contribute to anything going on here at Straight Talk. Don't just do it. No emotional. Ask first. Ask. Talk to him. And wherever he says to send it to whoever, to however, but talk to him first. We should be doing that anyway, but talk to him first. And please come back tomorrow. If for nothing else, if for no other reason, come back tomorrow. Come back for entertainment, because it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be entertaining. Very entertaining. And I promise, I'm going to make this promise to you. I promise never to lose my cool tomorrow. That's my promise to you, because I don't think I'll need to. I cannot guarantee I won't laugh. Now, this is one thing I will not lie to you about. I cannot guarantee you that I will not be rolling, laughing. Do not say, you said you would. I'm telling you now, there is a very high chance that my sides will be hurting and my face will be uncontrollably stuck in the smile position. That I can almost guarantee you that, but there'll be no anger. Okay. In either case, we'll catch you guys tomorrow for the discussion, and hopefully he shows up. I am 100% confident he will show up. 100% confident. 100%. Love you guys. Mean it. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself in no way.